Bup Ryun Sa. Bup Ryun Sa. Sa means temple. Hello world. My name is Stephen Walker and welcome to A Walker in the Woods. I drove to a new trailhead. I've been here before, but not with you. But yeah, up this road is a temple. We're not gonna go there, we're gonna go on the trail. Sagwa Onchan Pong Seli Gung Gojang Yesan. We are in Yesan. Here's a map, by the way. A lot of nice trails on this mountain. Go this way, show you a little bit of it. Again, they have these coconut husk mats on the ground. Very nice bridges. Looking for my moment of Zen. It's in the morning here in Korea, and I've got a new topic to talk about. Ask you if anyone wants to chime in, tell me your thoughts. But I ask this question to my students a lot, and it is, what is the most important thing in life? What's the most important thing in life? So the students will often say, money. Money is important. They're young. And I agree, money is important. Other answers may be family, a good job, which is money, God or religion, and eventually they'll come to health. And if that question is answered by me, I would have to say health is number one. If you don't have health, or at least a semblance of health, where you can get healthy again, even though we do get sick from time to time, even with pretty bad diseases. But the body, by the grace of God, is designed to heal. You cut your finger, it heals. You get diabetes, you can heal it. People do, especially through the carnivore diet, when you cut all the carbs and sugars out of your diet. There's a lot of stories out there on the internets. But yeah, health, in my opinion, is number one. It's an ongoing struggle to try and maintain it day through day by eating well, exercising, thinking. We're talking mental health as well as physical health, right? The mind and the body and the soul. But then there's another question I want to ask, which is a little bit more of a tangible answer. Things that you need. So for example, if we are stranded on a desert island, what are the essentials of life to maintain health, to maintain your body being able to create what it needs from the environment around it? And again, I'll give you three guesses. What would you say? Our bodies are basically comprised of about 70% water. So clean water is an essential. We can go at least 3 days without water. Some people do dry fasts, in which they go upwards of a week. I don't recommend it, but it's possible. It's a nice view right there. So yeah, water is number one. And then obviously we do need food, sustenance, and we can go without food for at least 40 days. I think the record for a dude that fasted was about 120 days. He was from Scotland. He was well overweight, had a lot of excess energy to burn in regards to fat on his body, getting into ketosis and letting the body burn that for fuel rather than store it. And then the third one obviously is shelter. Shelter from the environment. Another beautiful view here. This is a nice trail. The long and winding road. It's a little bit humid. Sun's already coming out. It's nice. But yeah, I mean, depending on the climate, you can't just run around naked. You need shelter, you need fire, clothing. Those are the essentials. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Peace Corps, because I was in Peace Corps about 30 years ago. A volunteer, natural resource volunteer in the Gambia, West Africa. I didn't make it the full 2 years, but about a year and 5 months. Lived in a mud hut, no electricity, no running water. Lived in a Mandinka and Fula village. There was one side was Mandinka, the other side was Fula, which are two different languages and cultures, really. The people look a little bit different, but back in the day when everything was colonized, the French took over Senegal, the English went up the Gambian River. If you ever look at a Gambian map, it looks like a lower intestine. So they basically took about 15 to 30 kilometers north and south. So my life in Africa taught me a lot about what I don't need in life. Don't need the fancy things. The people there lived very simply. They were farmers, and a lot of their farming was done by hand. They were lucky if they had an ox or something. They did own cows. The Fulas had cows. That was just material wealth, though, used for dowries if they got married or a big celebration. Goats. But the majority of their diet was either rice, plant, leaves, fish. There was a river where we would get fish, and we had a well that was dug by a German national organization. They went around and dug wells in Africa, so we had a well to go get water for our baths and drinking water as well. But it taught me a lot about what I don't need in life and what the importance of community is. I think old Hillary Clinton, I think she was the one that wrote the book, It Takes a Village. That's one true thing that she did right. Community, people together create power, which many governments don't necessarily like. But if you have community, if you have friends, if you have family around you, then you will always have someone to help you out when times get tough. Generally. Not always. But my days were spent working in the garden. I had a tree farm. I did painting. I did some teaching at a local school. Sorry for the huffing and puffing, but I'm going up. And we'll hopefully be going down soon. But that's a good view. There's the golf course and Napo below. So as I was saying, there are 2 seasons in the Gambia. The wet season is about between 2 and 3 months, and then there's a cool season, kind of January, December. The Gambia is right on the equator, north of. Very close. Not on the equator, but close enough. It's hot. And then the dry season, after the rains, and it gets a little bit cool, and then the rains are gone until I think it was about June or July. So during that time, all the crops are well dried up. Everything turns red, dusty, and food will get short. So if a family can't feed itself, that's where the community comes in. And if there's a storm, the harmattan winds come through once a year, big dust storms, winds that'll tear the thatched roofs off of houses. And when that happens, again, the community comes together and helps out their brother, their friend, their relative. But you know what? It was very difficult in the Gambia, but I saw more smiles there than I have anywhere. And I never heard of anyone taking their own life. The, what do they say? Offing themselves, or whatever the vernacular is now on the internet, because we can't say the word, which is very odd. But I've never heard anyone doing that. Now in Korea is one of the highest ranking in that. I'll talk about that in another video, but just recently another story about young students, a few of them together decided they couldn't deal with it. A lot of stress for students over here. That's in an upcoming video on Korea and the education system. But and of course in America, especially these days. So the question is why? Why are they doing it? What's so difficult? There's a lot of difficult things. As I said, I'm possibly going through a big D, maybe, with the wife. Still not good. Lost a best friend this month. Not good. World War III. Iran, Iraq, Russia, Ukraine, who knows? They keep adding up. No one's getting along. Why? I imagine life in the Gambia, in Sololo, that village that I lived in, is probably still fairly simple and similar to how I left it. So the next question is, when did society become so materialistic? And I think the materialism is one of the reasons why we can't get along anymore. You've heard of keeping up with the Joneses. Your neighbor who has a new big screen TV or a nice new car in the driveway, a bigger house than yours. That competitiveness to outdo each other. That really started in the 80s, I think. So if you want to blame that on Generation X, I don't know. Maybe the baby boomers started it in the 50s, where, you know, the American dream, everyone has a house with a picket fence and a car and all of the kitchen appliances. Who does that serve? It serves the big companies, obviously, that are selling all that shit. Yes, there's convenience, but do you need it? That's the question of the video today. What do you really need? What do you really need to make you happy in life? And it ain't coming by things. As the Beatles used to sing, you can't buy me love. Maybe happiness for a while, until the shininess wears off, and then on to the next thing, you know? But in the 80s, they said, he who dies with the most toys wins. 안녕하세요.
오, 왼발.
네, don't 없어요. She told me that I have no shoes on, and I told her I have no money. 안녕하세요. That's when you know that you speak enough of a foreign language to make someone laugh. Doesn't take a lot. But yeah, I'm going barefoot, so I tell them I just don't have money for shoes. Taking donations. And if you rewind this back to where I passed those 4 hikers, if you notice, they're all dressed to the nines. They got the latest camping equipment. Not camping, hiking. The North Face. Nice boots. Gotta have the hiking poles. I don't know why. Don't get the hiking poles. The pants. The backpack. The hat. The sunglasses. They got it all. Walking billboard for North Face. Hopefully North Face is sponsoring some of these fine folk. But he who has the most toys wins. When I first returned back to America, there's a thing called reverse culture shock. So when you first travel to a country, especially to live, like, you know, you're going to be there for at least a year, you go through 5 stages. The first one is honeymoon, where everything's cool. It's all new, shiny, interesting. And then you start getting frustrated and angry even, because the culture is very different than the one that you came from. And then you come to a point where it's either accept the change, accept the differences, or you gotta split. You gotta leave. You gotta admit defeat, retreat, go back home. No problem in that. But when I came back to America and I walked into a Walmart after a year and 5 months, I almost fell over. And I often thought of these African old women, the old grandmas, sitting in their mud hut on an old bamboo bed, chickens at their feet inside their hut, maybe a bag of grain or a jibinda, which is a clay pot of water inside the hut, a few meager belongings, and that's it. And I always thought, if I would bring one of these old grandmas, blindfold her, and then take her into Walmart and take the blindfold off, she would probably fall over dead from shock. I don't know if she would be amused, amazed, disgusted. I really don't know. Probably like culture shock. She'd go through the honeymoon period and then realize it's all bullshit. So anyways, that's Africa. Materialism in America. And Korea. Korea is very materialistic. Fashion, the K-pop, all the dramas, all these Southeast Asian countries want to emulate, come here, follow BTS and all these boy bands, girl bands, whatever. That's cool. Do whatever makes you happy, ultimately. But is it happiness, or is it just filling time? Now, speaking of materialism, I gotta keep looking at the camera here so I don't go off screen. Lead, so you need to have a lead in the video. Not like that, but like that. Anyways, speaking, my mom, she grew up on a farm. Didn't have a lot as a child. Her parents, my grandparents, lived through the Great Depression. And so my mom, a lot of that rubbed off on her. So when she died, my dad died a few years earlier, and then my mom finally passed about a year or so ago. And obviously all of the siblings, I wasn't there for the majority of it, but to clean out the house and all of the shit that she had accumulated and kept from her dad when he passed. She kept things in the basement, in our basement. When her mom, my grandma, died, more things accumulated, more boxes. When some of her children left the house, their things stayed behind. Me as well. You know, I think she was just holding on to memories and that physical thing that although she never looked at, never touched, never went through, I think just the knowing that it was there gave her some solace. I don't know. I mean, I have a sentimental part to me as well. I think we as humans all do. But what? Again, coming back to the question, what do you really need? It's a good question. So all this materialism from the 80s and 90s and 2000s, whatever, I think it's kind of coming to an end. Either people are waking up, realizing that they can do more with less, and financially, I mean, money is obviously getting tighter. Jobs are good paying jobs, secure jobs are getting fewer and farther between, especially with the AI. And it's going to continue that way. So I think we're just basically being forced to accept, many people are being forced to accept that we don't need the fancy car. And through videos that I've been watching, a lot of people are downsizing and selling their homes and their things, living in a van, not necessarily down by the river, but traveling, realizing that the experiences are more invaluable than watering and chemically spraying their green yard and keeping up with the Joneses. And in my opinion, that's a very good trend that's happening. The pendulum, you know, there's a pendulum on a clock, the old grandfather clock. It'll swing one way and things will seem like they're getting really far out to the left. And then there's only so far that it can swing until it has to come back down. And then it'll swing the other way. So I think we're on the downward trend from materialism and going into God only knows what's next. Transhumanism? Not for me. I think I'll pass on that one. And pass from this planet if it comes to that. Let me traverse this. ROK, the Republic of Korea, is an acronym. It should be ROCK because there's a shitload of rocks in this country. It's one big rock. Whew. All right. But people are living in modified vans, campers, even cars to save money while they're working. Doing without a lot of material possession, just the essentials. And they are proving what I learned a long time ago living in a mud hut. I didn't have to travel halfway around the world to figure that out. Or they didn't anyways. I did. I had to travel halfway around the world to figure it out. And so if that comes to pass again where I have nothing, and if per se I get divorced, that could be a reality very soon. And you know what? I'm okay with it. She can have all the shit. Let her take care of getting rid of it, moving it. Be my guest. But then people will say, hey, if you don't have the big screen TV and the Xbox and the nice car in the driveway, if you're not going out to the nice restaurants, hitting a movie, Netflix and chilling, isn't it boring? What do you do with your day? Well, getting out, getting outside, back into the environment, taking a walk, meditating, getting closer to God, because I think Jesus obviously is getting closer to us. I'm not gonna try and give a timeline or anything, but one way or the other, big changes are coming. Is it an antichrist? Is AI the antichrist? Is Elon Musk the antichrist? Donald Trump, is he the antichrist? Is it all together the antichrist? Is it one? Does it have to be one thing or one person? I don't think so. As long as you can find peace in your own heart and soul. But I don't think you're going to find that if you're watching Netflix and chilling all day, or playing some computer game 24/7. And all of those material, possessions have created a lot of debt. People are living off of credit cards, passing one credit card on to the next just so they don't have to pay off the first one. Getting out of debt is a very important part of getting out of the matrix. And if you're constantly pushing that plastic into these cash machines, cash registers, you just keep digging yourself a deeper hole. So I have a spoiler alert for those that still are going to argue that a big screen TV, computer games, and nice things aren't one of the roots of their problems, and that they worked hard for it and they deserve it. And I agree, enjoy it. But my spoiler alert is that when you kick the bucket, you can't take it with you. You will leave this earth just as you came into it, with nothing. None of this shit's going with you. Even the clothes on your back and the casket, they will stay behind as your soul finally embarks on its journey back home. There are a lot of NDE experiences, near-death experiences, that I find fascinating. And I'm going to talk about that in one of the upcoming videos. But only until you leave, your spirit leaves this body, do you realize that all of this is just a game. Material bullshit, 3D, three-dimensional, tangible. We get to use our five senses here. Smell, taste, touch, sound, and what's the other one? Smell, taste, touch, sound, and sight. If you're lucky to have all five. Some people don't. So there you go. There's another thing to be grateful for. If you have all five senses and can use them, I suggest that you do so. So I'm going to end this video with a challenge. It's not my challenge. I saw this on the internet. But I do believe in 30-day challenges. Challenging yourself to do something for 30 days, be it give up sugar, give up Coke, give up porn, give up drinking, give up whatever. Can you do it for 30 days? If you can, oftentimes you can break that cycle. The cycle, the routine that you get yourself into. And so this 30-day challenge is about downsizing. And so in the video that I watched, they suggest that you get rid of one thing on the first day. One thing you don't need. The second day you get rid of two things. The third day you get rid of three things. I think you are getting the picture now. By day 30, you get rid of 30 things. I don't know the math. I didn't do the math, but that's well over 100, 200, maybe 300 things. And I think I'm going to do it in reverse starting today. I'm going to get rid of 30 things that I don't need. And I live in a small apartment in South Korea. I don't live in a big McMansion or even a house. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4 room with a kitchen, half a kitchen. And I have an office in the university, so I got things to get rid of there too. A lot of books. But I'm going to start this challenge today. And I will ask you to join if you are so willing. And do come across this video at any time. I'll let you know how it's going in future videos. But you have to ask yourself, what do you really need? What do you, and even more importantly, what do you use? If you haven't used something or worn something in over a year or 2 years, but it's just on the shelf or in the closet, just because it's there and it makes you feel comfortable that you own some things, take a little bit of a moment, really think about, hey, do I need this? Because when you give something up, you actually gain something, and that's called freedom. A lot of people find that feeling to be one of the best in the world, maybe even better than sex or drugs, is feeling free and uninhibited. It will free you up. Getting rid of a lot of that shit will free you up to be able to travel and gain new experience. Because at the end of the day, that's what you've got. You got experience. The experience is what the soul wants to take back with it. It doesn't want to take the Lamborghini or the three-piece suit or the high heels. And one other thing about giving things up, if you really want to fight the system, on the news you see all of these groups out protesting Donald Trump or the fascist, anti-fascist groups breaking things, burning things, tearing things down, breaking into the Gap and the Louis Vuitton stores, stealing all their shit. It's retarded. It's insane. If they really want to make change, you know how you do it? I'll show you. Excuse me while I whip this out. This is 5,000 Korean won, the currency here in South Korea. They've got 1,000 won. It used to be, I used to liken it to be 1,000 won would be about the equivalent of $1. The 5,000 would be about $5. But with the exchange rate these days, this is probably about $3.75. Can't even buy me a coffee anymore. But it can still buy me things. And be it if it's cash or on your credit, the power is in what you purchase, where you spend your money. So I tell my students, hey, do you support Donald Trump or America? And if you know, many will say yes, but if some say no, then I'll say, well, what can you do? And then I also ask them, do you vote? And they say, if they're of age, yes, I do. And I ask them, how often do you vote? And they'll say, well, president here in Korea is once every 5 years. And I say, well, no, you vote every day. And they say, what? And I say, yeah, you vote every day. And they say, what? 어떻게? 투표해요? 매일. 네, 맞아요. You vote every day. How? You vote with the currency. You vote with where you spend your money. Do you support Starbucks, which is an American company? If you do, great. That's where your money's going, and that's where the power is going. And one person, well, that's a small change. But if everyone starts doing it, that's a big change. And then the companies will start listening. If they, that's where they get their power. That's where TV stations get their powers, through advertising. And if the consumer, which is you, stop supporting those advertising companies and big companies that are multi-conglomerate now that own everything, if you just cut back, reduce, downsize your need for consumption, they listen, and they also lose power. Simple economics right there. So that's what I'm going to do anyways. I'm going to start downsizing. And it's good for the soul, good for the mind, and less shit to move in case I do have to bug out one of these days, which is a possibility. You never know. Hell, North Korea could even invade. I doubt it, but it's always been a possibility since I've moved here. So all I'm saying is start experiencing life again. Turn off the television, turn off the YouTube, turn off this video. Back to the basics. Get back into touch with nature. Get back in touch with your community, with your friends, your family, people maybe that you haven't talked to in a long time. They're probably waiting. And most importantly, if you are so inclined, if you're not, that's fine, but get back into touch with God, or Spirit, or the Creator. He, it, is inside of you waiting. And that's my plan. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I wish you all amazing experiences, And if you do decide to downsize or minimalize, or if you are living on the road, drop me a comment below and let me know. Tell me what it's like. So until next time, peace out everybody. Here is your moment of Zen.